Hello, Warriors. Looks like King Dollar took a stumble today. Any Lar Lions in here? Who remembers who they are? The Lar Lions. How you doing, Sinatra? Oh, you were a lion. RC, how you doing? Andrew? Bran? Bran was too young to be a lion. Michael, how are you? James? Marcus? Yeah, Ingmar. All right, Happy New Year to you as well, Ryan. Paul, good to have you back. All right. Oh, Galaxy remembers Lar. Okay. Oh, come on. Yohei? Anyway, all right. So let's go to work. What do you think? Pull up the charts. What lit up FX today, Ryan? We got to targets last week. I don't know if you were paying attention, but the same day we closed within the wedge. What's happening here?
Morning,
How are
Dale,
you,
and
buddy?
Happy New Year to you, mate.
You, buddy, we're gonna, here's our war chant this year. We're gonna have a great decade this year. All right, and
Feels like it
and
already.
and in 2025 we all thrive. Okay, it's
Yeah.
going to be a great year to be a trader. With Mr. Volatility coming in, I'm telling you, man, who's up for having a great decade in a year? Let's compress time a little bit, especially
I
if
think
you're
it's
not 40, you want to get it done fast. I
yeah,
have a
exactly.
different timeline than you now, man. Anyway, what was the catalyst today?
Well, there was that Washington Post story about Trump's going to impose
Okay.
universal tariffs,
Oh,
only on critical imports, and that's just got the market tipping over. You'll have to excuse me. I'm just taking a little slice off my dollar China from this morning. So yeah, that got the ball rolling,
nice.
and it's
Yeah.
continued.
Yeah, yen, I thought we'd make one more high. We failed to. Was waiting for a 3, but
Yeah.
pretty negative looking candle. The Dixie took out this 108.5 level. I don't know. I mean, I last week I was open to it, could do some work and even make marginal new highs, but this action is kind of decisive, isn't it?
It's half of me thinks usual year end, new year. No one's fully back to the desks until this week, and we're back to where we were when it all started. If you're just looking at your Dixie,
Yeah.
but certainly other pairs, we saw lows in the euro. We've bounced since then. Haven't looked back. Got back above the old support that broke. So we're back into that area again, back above 103.30. So yeah, I can't. It's my first day back, so I'm not.
Yeah, I know you're getting your sea legs back.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so anyway, there are a few things that I want to discuss. Oh, and
yeah.
Gregor's here with us, and Jane's going to show her charts. Jane, are you ready to come on and talk to me about a few currency pairs here? Oh, Jane, come on. Don't disappear. I'm kidding you. All right. Well, why don't we listen to Gregor and see, because I have some questions
about the dollar.
Well, not about the dollar. I nailed
Morning.
it. I nailed it. So anyway, you know what? I have a question is, are you still negative S&Ps, Gregor? Good morning. Happy New Year. Nice to talk
Happy
to
New
you.
Year.
Yeah.
Not really negative. I'm just more like a neutral right now. I just think that this correction, even if when we got this bounce, when dollar is coming to the downside today, I just don't believe that we will break out of this range. I think that maybe the ranges will stay in play till Trump really takes office. So maybe we'll get a bit of more both-sided moves. I think that 6,050 is still or 25 is still potential
Yeah.
resistance for the
Okay.
S&P. I would not be looking for
New
longs.
highs.
Yes,
Okay.
not here. I think that we will get them, but firstly, maybe we'll need to get rid of some of the weak hands and maybe some liquidations first. Even US dollar, on the first day of this trading week, like Ryan said, I'm not really sure if these are real flows. We have the FOMC minutes that will be released on Wednesday and non-farm payrolls report on Friday. So I just don't trust these flows, even though I am expecting dollar to complete this bull run.
I
Uh,
think I think you had I mean it was well before we finally got there, but you had a completion for the euro at 102.30, Grega. And if you forgot, I remember. And we got to 102.20. I mean, so couldn't that have fulfilled it?
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely tracking this option, but just one day
Anyway,
for
that was a great call though. And very nice objective for people to work with. It helped me. So that was a great
yeah,
call.
yeah, I mean, we got definitely a very nice rebound, but just few hours,
I
basically, if you just few
Yeah.
hours of this bullish price action, it's not enough for me to say
Mm,
that maybe the euro dollar has bottomed. We have a very nice, beautiful reaction, but I certainly would want to see more stable prices or maybe even a price above 105 to make sure that we really are forming a bottom here. Because, US session did not even started yet now for a new
yeah.
trading week, and now calling this like a reversal of the recent trends, very strong bull run for the dollar that we had. I just think it's just premature here, and that we should be a bit more careful here. The Tuesday
Okay.
reversal, what
Yeah,
they're saying. So.
yeah, it could happen. I'll have a breakout. I'm looking at it as a wedge here. You probably don't have the same kind of formation, but just its channel line here, um, we would take it out at 105.30.
Yeah,
So,
actually,
yeah,
if we get another new low, suddenly, let's say that euro stops here and we get back to the downside, I just think, and this 104 is a key resistance right now, then
yeah.
I would be actually looking for an ending diagonal and we would get the final fifth wave down to close to maybe 101 level. And
Okay.
that,
I've heard that one called. So there could be one more decline left in euro to 101.
yeah, but
Eh,
overall, I just think that in month from now, euro will be higher.
yeah. Okay. So we're basically we're seeing the kind of foreshadowing of what will happen, but there could be it hasn't fulfilled what it needs to
Yeah,
do before
exactly.
we have to complete the process before the reversal. But
Yeah.
sometimes we don't complete the process.
Yeah, and
So
sometimes one pairs will maybe complete the process earlier than others, and currencies will diverge at
yeah,
important
yeah,
highs and lows. And I certainly realize that this could be the case here. I mean, pound also had a very nice and beautiful and strong rebound. We are also seeing commodity currencies
yeah.
recovering. If that's really the case, what we
This is ugly.
yeah, I mean, CAD is definitely going to hit back if that's really will stick to this new plan regarding tariffs that we got the news earlier. So CAD will and Mexican peso as well. I'm not sure if you checked this one.
There it is. Yeah, it looks like it's rolling over. This last high was not confirmed. I mean, we've been diverging since August. I mean, that's the last RSI high I have. So I mean, this whole grind up here, you know, 2 bad days changes the whole. The uptrend could be violated in one day. This kind of action. I mean, wouldn't you call this more like corrective type action?
No, I would actually watch this as an ending diagonal with a potential top forming.
Yeah,
If you
that's what I
would
mean.
connect lines from
I,
September swing
you know
highs,
what,
swing
Grega?
lows.
I don't have to. I'm gonna give you the screen so
Yeah, you don't have to.
I don't have to? Okay. You're
Uh,
good. All right, then I'll draw lines for you, buddy.
no, it's okay.
That's
Wait,
all right.
can you see the screen?
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's actually an ending diagonal that
Yeah.
I've been referring to. And I
Yeah.
still think that if the dollar would really see this reversal of the Trump trade that we had over the last 2 months,
Yeah.
maybe we'll get something similar like it happened in 2016, 2017. That was the
Yeah.
price action here. So up from November through December, then in January, Trump takes office and we see a complete reversal of that trend. So because we have this pattern going on that clearly suggests that bulls are losing strength here, and based on what's going on, I just would not be surprised if that really would be the case once again. If we start dropping below 20, then I think that room for much lower prices here will show up.
Okay. All right.
So regarding the dollar, since I mentioned it, so
Yeah,
that's
same thing.
yeah, of course we came into this very important resistance area. On the opposite side, euro dollar, as you said earlier,
Yeah.
came down to close to 1.2 level, and now it's
Yeah.
recovering. So that's why maybe in the next few days, maybe this week will be a key week for the euro.
Yeah.
Because if we can stay above and trade close to 105, as I said earlier, then I think that bottom is in place.
All right,
If
let me
this,
ask you this.
yeah,
Do you, Grega, pay attention to positioning and sentiment? And, with all the news coming out of Europe, no one wants to be long euro.
yeah,
In
I mean,
fact, are you starting to hear people talking sub parity?
yeah, I see this all the time, and we know
All right.
how everyone
Yeah.
were bullish on the euro dollar
Yeah.
in the mid of 2024. So
Yeah.
sentiment is always something that I pay a lot of attention on, and I see that a lot of pessimism regarding euro, and there was
Yeah.
still
It's
a
probably
reversal.
underowned. It's
Yes,
underowned.
and the ECB, maybe sooner or later um, they will maybe slow down the potential further cuts from here. And if that would be the case, I think that there will be a reason for euro to potential bottom. And
Okay.
if we look here at this positioning, I think I shared this chart, and even Blake, I think, shared it a few times. So certainly we are at some very extreme levels here, especially if we compare maybe to the levels and readings from 2022 and even go further back to 2020. We are here, but we are slightly higher regarding the price, not slightly higher, but quite a lot.
The lot higher. That, in fact, the
Yeah,
pullback is right around 61.8,
yeah,
where we
exactly.
stopped last week.
So regarding positioning, sentiment, the price action, overall, and the Trump and everything, I just think
Yeah.
it's a very interesting reversal spot down here.
Yeah. So, everyone that front ran the Trump trade, it's ending going into inauguration.
I think
Rather
also
than, go ahead.
Yeah, I also think that Steve once mentioned, I think it was Steve, that Trump probably don't want a strong US dollar, and that he
Yeah, he
will not
doesn't.
maybe deliver what his promises are. So we can very quickly see these trends turning around.
Okay. I think this could be the year that we launch a pretty long term. I won't I don't think that the whatever sell off we're gonna have from whether the peak is in or there's another push until we panic longs under 100, which I think will go to 95 in a hurry. So I think there's at least 95 in this wave over the next 6 to 12 months. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in my eyes, it's possible.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, in your eyes, ICC is there. Okay, interesting. And okay, this is something else I heard you talk about, and I thought about it, and it makes sense to me, and I've been saying to people, you know, if we are getting an important turn and we're about about to embark on in a bear market in the dollar, it is hard to want to be bearish anything,
Yeah,
isn't it? Even equity, and you said this would be when the dollar turns is when the market really melts up.
yeah. But
Do you
could be
still
the
believe
final
that?
melt up. Yeah,
Huh?
I still believe that.
Okay. So I mean, do you think we hit it when this process of the dollar turn is confirmed? Do you think we have 6,400 in
I
SPX if
I
that
think that
happens?
yes, I think that we will rally higher, but when it comes to defining the potential trading ideas here, if especially if I'm looking for some setups that can last from a month to a few months, it's very difficult to discover them because I
Yeah.
just want better lower prices and a better structure. And for now, I don't see this on these indexes. So
Okay.
I would avoid stocks. Maybe some single stocks could be much more attractive, but definitely would have to be much more selective in such case. But overall, maybe we will see a straight move up from here, and I will just miss the trend. But I don't see the price action or the structure that will allow me to look for potential opportunities on this one.
All
Unless
right.
we
So
see some pullbacks here into this deeper wave forward, then of course this would be a totally different scenario and different story for myself.
how about a quick pop with what the dollar's doing now before it retraces to new highs, just to clean out the stops, maybe, trade 61.90 in the next week or so and complete.
Yeah,
Take out the 6100 breakout, trade above it, then next time back underneath it you have something.
yeah, that would be much more interesting price action then, especially if that. But still, I would not
Then we
then.
would get our 4 that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's possible, of course.
All
But
right.
overall, my idea is to look for potential entries when we are at this zone. If we not get it, then just stay aside. That's how
Okay.
I look at the S&P 500 at the moment.
The action we had, and it correlates pretty closely with the dollar action. The gold silver ratio peaked last week and has come down pretty good. Um, I know that you think there's more downside in metals. You put out some
Yeah.
real nice charts. Does that change your mind at all? The
No,
action we're getting in the gold silver ratio?
no, I still think that gold silver ratio here is headed to the upside, that we have this incompleted recovery, and at the same time, if you look at gold, we are just basically just moving sideways here. So maybe
Yeah,
it will take some time before this whole wave 4 is completed. Now, sometimes these fourth waves can be a bit tricky. There won't be always just an easy ABC free wave drop. Can be
yeah,
even some kind of a triangle.
right.
But I think that you were referring to this chart, right? Dollar
That's it.
Chinese yuan
Yeah,
versus gold. Yes. So
yeah.
here I'm looking basically, if we just focus on cycles, on a blue one, you can see that we are most likely now in the final stages here for, let's say, for the first half of this year to complete this potential bull run. Now, in Elliott wave terms, if I delete this for a moment, we also see that could be in the final stage of this potential wedge formation here. So I still think that there is room for some more upside till we fully complete this recovery. But overall, I just think that on metals, it's much easier to define opportunities when we will have this potential top here, because that's always clearly has been the case when we look at the past extremes here in dollar Chinese yuan. So looking for potential opportunities
So you think there's
right
one
now,
more
it's
high? You think there's one more high coming?
yes.
And okay, does that imply you still think one more high is coming in U.S. dollar yen?
I mean, dollar yen, I think that
I
there
mean,
was,
because they've been kind of running together, haven't they?
yes,
Yeah.
but just a second. I think I
Uh,
have it. So here it is. Not
okay.
the, I don't think that we will break the highs
Okay.
of here of July. I just think that BOG would aggressively step into this market and will clearly try to defend the prices if we will start
60.
seeing. break above 160. So I just think that there will be limited upside, and I think that there were even some hawkish remarks today from Grega, but nothing has changed much here. But overall, just in the next few months, I think that this pair can roll over.
But you think, I mean, the high has been 158. You think there's 160 in it?
160 is the potential resistance, yes.
Okay. All right.
I think that right now we could be looking for some supports here around 156. Maybe then we get the final push to the upside.
Okay.
For potential.
When talking about the indices, even if we get a new high in the S&Ps, to me it looks like the Dow has topped, and that we could have a new high in S&Ps without the Dow making a new high. Does your wave structure back up, my pattern recognition look on that? Where the S&P and NASDAQ could make a new high without the Dow.
Yeah, I mean, there were also not the perfect correlations in the past 2 months, but that's very possible as well.
Okay. All right. And okay. Let's bring Ryan back in. Ryan, you have some questions for Grega?
Questions? No. I think going back to your S&Ps, I think if we go back to that 6,100, I know you're looking for another push up there. I think if we break that, then we're off and running again. To hit that high, then come back, that far away from it. If we go there pretty quickly, then I think we're off and running. That could be like the new 4,800 that we had. When we broke that level.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's really held for a long time. So it's not going to be a stop up hunt type of opportunity. It's going to be a breakout.
No, but my question to you is, you're saying if stocks will rally, while the dollar pulls back or falls back, what would cause the dollar to fall back so much? And if it's bad news, why would that be good for stocks? Because it's all related to Trump, really, isn't it?
Yeah. The dollar falling be good for stocks. I mean, it's just been kind of recency bias that a weaker dollar lifts all boats.
Yeah.
So, but are you in the camp that we could have a bear market in both equities and the dollar simultaneously?
Sorry, say that again, mate.
Are you in the camp that we could have a major sell-off in the market and the dollar simultaneously, or is a weaker dollar, along with supporting commodity prices, also support equity prices?
Yeah, it really depends what happens. I mean, I think that a lot of what we're seeing right now is just the market nerves. The big thing we've got the start of the year is Trump coming in. How hard is he going to hit people with tariffs? Is it going to be a bit of bluff just to get people around the table? Or is he really going to go for it? Day one, he's going to slap on tariffs and say, right, Europe, you're getting nailed for 100% on this, that, and the other, and just, blanket blast everyone. Then I think you're going to see a big reaction. And if it's the same as what the market's done today, that's the dollar getting a bit of a spanking, and stocks aren't doing that great either. But it's very difficult to tell. If it's something and everyone goes, oh, it's just a negotiating tactic, then that's going to be good for risk, and that'll be good for the dollar and good for stocks as well, probably. So it's
good for everything.
Good for everything. So it's very much risk on, risk off, but the old style one that we used to know. And of course, if he solves the war in Ukraine in 5 minutes and everything else, then, like I've been saying, you're going to see a risk rally the likes of which you've never seen before. So
I heard Richard Haas talking about that, and he thinks that the ground is fertile for a deal. The other people disagree that you can't trust Putin. Any deal he'll end up violating it. But Zelensky, wants a ceasefire. And the ruble, I think, recently has made new all-time lows. Things aren't, for a few years in the war, I don't think Moscow felt it, but I think the people are feeling it now.
Yeah.
So maybe he can put together a deal.
I
But
think Zelensky
Putin's his
needs one.
problem, huh?
Yeah. I think Zelensky at the moment, just reading headlines here and there, he's giving back a lot of territory that they took earlier in the
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
It's not going very well for them. Russia's sort of, inching their way forward. So I think if that happens, Ukraine's facing a shortage of personnel, military personnel, as much as Russia is. I mean, Russia's drafting North Koreans. Who have Ukraine
Yeah,
got to draft in?
they're like, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's the old war of
Well,
attrition, isn't it?
yeah. And they fought the war with one hand behind their back for 3 years. I mean,
Exactly.
the only thing I could see is that Putin gives Trump a hard time. Trump's only leverage is to continue to arm the Ukrainians if if he's going to be strong with Putin. That's his
Yeah. Or
leverage.
and that's the other thing. He could make it worse. He could say, right, well, if you don't get a deal done, we're putting troops in Ukraine. And then you're getting another escalation.
That is
Uh,
something that you're right, that he would not be afraid to do.
no,
So okay, so I mean, wow, what a year this is going to be with geo stuff and economic stuff, banking stuff, all this. It's going
it's
to.
only the
I'm
first
really
week.
pumped. I'm pumped. I mean, yeah, it really is the
Yeah,
first week, and look at the ranges. So
yeah.
that this is a
Trudeau's on his
great,
way out.
yeah, this is a
You know,
great sign that everyone came back from the Caribbean, and they're going to work, and they're putting money to work, and there are nice swings happening here. Uh, I
I
think
think that's
that
the thing as well, and that's a very important point you make. It's the first week, so everyone who was getting out of positions, closing up books end of the year, this is
yeah,
when they're all getting repositioned. So that's
right.
why you've got to you can't say moves we're seeing now is going to be the trend for the next 6 months.
No,
This could just be the first few days. I see it every year. We see it every year. The first few days can be a bit funky because the market's coming back, re-putting on positions, positioning. We've had all the 2025 calls for stocks and blah, 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 blah. And everyone's just, putting their first chips on the table.
sure looks like we're going for new highs here in the indexes to me. I see what Greg is looking at, where we failed from a week or so ago. It was 78.6, a little bit above 78.6, that big rally, and then we put in a double bottom. But
Yeah.
it sure looks like if we clear this, we could blow. And if the
The, the,
dollar, and this part of the scenario was it finally took the last leg of the dollar strength and Powell, took Powell
yeah.
to shake the trees in the market. I mean, it shook the trees in metals. It shook the tree. Well, yields and the dollar were going together, but there was a lot of pressure in other markets, housing stocks, everything, because of what was happening with the dollar and yields. So, this could be a release valve for things to go. We'll see.
Yeah.
I do, I do have to check to see if Peter is in the house. We have Peter Bookvar today, and do we still have the sale going on?
No, I don't know. I think that's finished. Unless
Okay,
the guys extended it. I'll have to check that.
okay. Let's see if Peter's here, because Peter's going to be a great guy to talk to about big picture stuff. Here, there he is.
There
Okay,
he
so
is.
all right, so can anyone help me promote it? Because when I click, all I get is report on this.
Let me jump in there, Dale. Let's see if I can do that. What am I? Depends what I am. I'm a co. Yeah, Steve's host. So let's see if I can do it.
Oh, you
Peter Bookvar. There we go. Promote to panelist. So yeah, Peter, if you
beautiful.
can just accept that. There we go.
Thank you, Ryan.
No
Hey,
problems, mate.
Grega, thanks for dropping in today. Nick, I didn't see you were here. Jump in tomorrow. didn't see that you were here. I would have asked you some questions about stocks and so forth.
Sounds good.
Anyway,
I'll be around tomorrow.
okay, buddy. All right. So, Peter, Happy New Year to you, my trading
Yeah.
warrior brother. How are you?
To you as well, Dale. Thank you.
Thanks. So, top of mind going into, the red wave and a new year, and um, you know, uh, Trump wants a lower dollar. I think everyone wants a lower dollar because then their assets will appreciate, right? So, what are you thinking going into this year, Peter?
My first focus is on bond yields.
Okay.
Bond yields in the US are a little changed today, but there's been a clear rise. And what is most noteworthy is in 2024, having the Fed cut 100 basis points and the 10-year yield go straight up.
I've never seen it before. Have you?
This is highly unusual to this extent. I don't know if you noticed today, but the Japanese 5-year JGB yield closed the highest level since 2009. The 10-year JGB yield closed overnight at the highest level since 2011. We're in a bond bear market, and that is
globally,
and that is my number one focus.
Okay.
My number two focus is the tariffs, and whether they're sort of selective and focused or scattershot like they were in 2017, 2018, which put U.S. manufacturing into recession. Washington Post today article is hinting that maybe it'll be more focused, which I'm not a fan of tariffs, but I understand the basis behind them. And I think that they can just keep them as little as possible in terms of the those impacted, we can manage through it. But that's the other focus. And then I guess lastly is, looking at the broad market is whether how much more energy does the AI trade have?
Okay.
And I think that's going to be obviously a big focus because these stocks dominate the indices.
Okay, so still MAGA, except MAGA is getting a little more, what do you call it? There's dispersion even between MAGA. Microsoft doesn't look like some of the strength, and some of the strength rolled over last week, like Apple. Bifurcation. That there's even bifurcation among 7 stocks,
Yes, which is a change of tone just right there.
Okay. Yeah, and AI, I tried, it was a good trade, but it didn't turn into what I thought it would, NVIDIA, but NVIDIA looks like it has new highs in it. So, but yeah, that's where there's the most air. So you think if the economy slows, that companies will stop spending as much because they're not generating as much as they thought from the AI they've already invested in.
Yeah, and I think investors are finally asking those questions. Okay, this is all great, Gen AI, look at all the things I can do, but you're spending $20 billion a quarter, they being a lot of these hyperscalers, and what's the return on that money? And I think that keep in mind also that a lot of this spend is being capitalized in the income statement, so it shows up in depreciation expense. So these companies are essentially building into their income statement a much higher cost structure that they're going to have to work through over many years. So they're going to need to generate faster revenue growth in order to mitigate that in terms of impacting their overall earnings growth. Because in 2024, almost all the earnings growth of the S&P came from those top 7 stocks. The other 493, I think, saw earnings growth of maybe 2%.
Okay. All right. I think I saw an interview you did with Maggie, and I think the headline was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Keep 1 foot out of the door when it came to your view on the market.
Yeah, I mean, when you have valuations as excessive as they are, and you have persistent rise in interest rates, you have no choice but to be more prudent and to be more sort of value oriented, because one of these days we're going to walk in and investors are going to all of a sudden care about valuations. We know valuations don't matter until they do, and investors can be sort of agnostic to valuations for a long period of time. But
Yeah,
I know
and
from
then
from
go
history
ahead.
that if there's one thing that makes people care about valuations, it's rising interest rates, and we clearly have that. So that was sort of the gist of the one foot
Okay.
in, 1 foot out.
All right. So, and I want to ask you about the bonds, but since you brought that up, I've been flashing back, I still have flashbacks. I'm kidding. Well, I was flashing back on 87. In 87, bond yields were rising. The difference was the dollar was falling. And we had this and the market kept going up. Okay. People were still buying risk. There was this disintermediation that kept growing between yields, which should make the market look even more expensive going up, and the market continuing to go up and get more expensive until the rubber band snapped. Do you think we have that kind of setup? Because when I look at the bonds and I look at the weekly like TLT, I mean they do look awful, and I think that just technically, if we had symmetry off this lower line off the previous two lows, Peter, from here, the October, and then this was the low before we had this, weak rally, that we could trade back to this line, and that would actually be about 72 on TLT. That's 15 handles from here. Do you think could you give me a narrative how that could happen? Are we heading into a sovereign bond crisis across the globe?
Well, crisis is a strong word.
All right. I know I'm too dramatic.
Yeah. So what I do think, a crisis, at least in the U.S., will be, I believe, if the 10-year gets to like 6.
Okay.
And a crisis in the sense that everyone will be sort of forced to make tough decisions.
You mean the rollover of debt? Is that
yeah. So take
rolling over
2025. There's
Yeah.
about $10 trillion of U.S. debt that needs to be rolled over, putting aside, not including the new incremental debt that is needed to just finance the $2 trillion budget deficit. About 4 of the 10 is notes and bonds. Assume that they were priced pre-2022. So the U.S. government just this year is going to have about an $80 billion increase in interest expense just on the rollover.
Is that triple? That's almost triple, isn't it?
Well, it's on a run rate. You're talking over $1 trillion of interest expense.
Yeah.
That has now exceeded government spending, defense spending, which is about 850 billion-ish. But as I mentioned earlier, we've seen this rise in Japanese bond yields, and while European bond yields are off their highs, they're still well above where they were a year ago in the face of many ECB rate cuts. So
are Chinese bonds going up in yield despite all the efforts?
Chinese bonds have been the standout on the upside. Yields keep falling there.
I knew
Chinese
yields
bonds have been outperforming all of their developed market bonds.
Okay, and that's because the central bank. So how come when the Chinese ease, they get a bull move in their bonds, and when we ease, we get a bear move in our bonds?
Well, they definitely have economic challenges for sure. Inflation is very low. It's almost non-existent there. So
everyone's broke. They're all broke. The people are broke in China.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. They have a look at the EV sector. They are the kings of EV in the world, but it's highly competitive, and there's in order to be able to sell you a car, you would need to discount. So things are affordable there. You can get very high tech, very advanced EVs in China at a fraction of the price that you would pay for them here.
Okay. Huh. All right. Are you moving there?
I am not.
TV? Huh?
I am not, but I would visit. But yeah.
All right. We also have a sector to talk about. Still, we've had corrective action. or at least we've had corrections in silver from like 33 to where we are now. Still very positive on silver, and something I've noticed, Peter, and maybe you could help me, is that the action, silver's been stronger, but the action I've noticed in, where was it? Platinum and palladium, the white stuff. It seems
So,
like now the white stuff is going to outperform gold, where gold has been outperforming, silver, but vis-a-vis what the gold-silver ratio has been going up and it's starting to drop again. So, do you still like all the metals? And
um,
would it be a time to look at things that also have more of an industrial use?
yeah, the last few months, palladium has been our
There you
new
go.
position. Uh,
Nice. I like it, man.
so, it's trading at half of its level of about 10 years ago.
Right.
And, I know one of the bear case around it, and I like palladium. I don't like platinum as much. I'm sorry. We like platinum. We've initiated a position in platinum, not palladium.
Okay. Okay.
Platinum, about 40% of the use of platinum goes into catalytic converters.
Right. Right.
Palladium, it's closer to 80%. So I don't
Right.
want to be as exposed to the auto sector as I would owning palladium relative to platinum. Platinum, other uses go into electronics, jewelry, tableware, and others. Wedding rings, for example. What I think is very interesting about both, but more so the platinum, is the use of hybrids. And if you look at sort of this VHS Betamax sort of battle between hybrids and full-on EVs, it's clear that hybrids are winning. And the use of platinum in a hybrid is as much or even slightly higher in some cases to an internal combustion engine. So I think this really extends out the timeline of the use of platinum. And interestingly enough, palladium too, this metal is really only made in 3 countries of the world: South Africa,
Right.
Zimbabwe, and Russia.
So
So
how do you
every
invest in
single
it? You
day.
just buy, what are you doing? You just buying ETFs on it, or
So
what?
for clients, we own the Aberdeen ETF, the PPLT.
Okay.
For myself personally, I own that. I also own, Anglo-Platts, which is the Anglo-American. They're actually spinning out of Anglo-American.
Okay.
So
That's South
they're,
African, right? South
yeah,
African.
yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you have no choice
Yeah.
to invest in those 3 countries if you want to
Right.
play an individual country. But this is a country with low cost. I'm sorry, this is a company with low cost and pristine balance sheet. So I'm more
Okay. Nice.
comfortable owning that particular stock.
All right. Well, then,
But for the average
what?
person, it's just easier to own the metal itself.
Okay. All right. So let's get to explaining or giving the new administration hints. How are they going to get their desired result of a weaker dollar? I mean, it's happening today, but the dollar's been in a pretty strong uptrend. People are arguing that, one day doesn't change the dollar trend, but the dollar's breaking pretty hard. Euro got to some of my team's downside targets and we're bouncing. They still think, we could still do some work down here, some accumulation, even trade lower. Is Trump going to be successful at getting a weak dollar and not losing reserve currency status?
Well, I'm not sure because there's some inherent conflicts with the
Yeah, that's what
dollar.
how can he have
Tariffs.
both? Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm not sure how you have tariffs and then you want a weaker currency. I think from a weaker currency standpoint, yes, that'll probably be his desire, but that'll be more from a jawboning perspective.
right, right.
There won't be anything initiated that would lead to a weaker dollar.
Okay.
So
Well,
can you
so
talk it down?
we need a
Temporarily, maybe, but that's about it.
we need to start getting weak economic numbers. And
You need that, or you need the BOJ to raise interest rates again, which would help the yen. You need some stabilization in the European economy to stabilize the euro. So, it could be some of that as well.
Do you think that the yen is peaking here, or that because you bought 7-Eleven here when right near the
Yeah,
peak
I
because of that?
I did sell it after the deal was announced.
Okay. Is
The
this another
takeover deal.
opportunity to find a way to
I
take
like the yen
advantage?
here. Yeah, and in
Yeah.
fact, actually today, in Japan, Governor Ueda, speaking for the first time this year, said that that our stance is that we will raise the policy interest rate to adjust the degree of monetary easing if economic and price conditions keep improving. So I think he's laying the groundwork for the January hike, and so I think he's going to deliver on that. I think broadly with the dollar is we have to ask ourselves what happens with all these emerging markets. Because it's a lot of the dollar weak strength has been, yes, against the yen, the euro pound, but it's also been
It's
against a bunch of
decimated.
yeah. So you look at Trudeau probably resigning within days, which I think is very bullish for Canada. Um, I think the Canadian dollar, which is up about 1% today on that
Yeah, there it
news,
is.
I think the Canadian dollar is a big buy here
Okay.
on this news. I think bringing in a conservative there after what Trudeau has brought us would be very good for the Canadian economy and the Canadian currency.
Is it going to be Bobby Orr? I think President Trump was pushing Bobby Orr, who is one of my boyhood idols from the Bruins.
Yeah, that would be interesting if they did.
Yeah.
But it's probably going to be I'm going to mispronounce his last name, but Pierre.
He's a conservative guy.
Yes,
So
yes,
they're
exactly.
going to go the other way. Okay.
Yes, and just as we did here, we sort of rid ourselves of the woke nonsense. Canada potentially is going to do the same.
Okay, and will they become the 51st state?
No, they will remain independent.
Can we buy Greenland?
Yeah, no, it's that's what we have to look forward to.
Yeah. Anyway,
the
I mean,
entertainment
did you?
Of this all.
Let me ask you: you remember trading under Trump 1.0? Did you enjoy trading under that by tweet?
Yeah, I mean that always added some spice to the day
Yeah,
what we're going to wake up to.
This could be. Do you agree with me that this is going to be one of the best years for traders because of the swings we're going to have now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think that the swings are going to be big, and I think one of the reasons is, at least in the big indices, is because that AI trade is going to be very difficult to replicate. And when you look at the valuations of some of these stocks, like Apple, for example,
Yeah.
Being so elevated that we could be entering, at least for those names, more of a trading range market rather than a persistent continued rise. Again, if the AI trade starts to take a breather, for example, which would lead to big swings in the indices because the top 10 stocks of the S&P make up like almost 40% of the S&P.
Yeah,
actually probably closer to mid-30s, actually 35 to 38%.
Yeah, I think Apple belongs down here at 170. Peter, anything new on the business front that you want to let our viewers know about that they could, check out?
No, just continuing to do my thing.
All right.
Both on the publishing side and the asset management side.
All right. So
no change.
Yeah, and go to Peter's site, and you could at least be updated with a summary, and he always gives you the option to get behind the wall, but you get very filled in by that. Let me just go to.
I will not bore the reader.
No, he uses the word succinct a lot. Okay, so that means he's not wasting time.
I try not to.
And you're trying just to get to the heart of the matter. And you do it here, right, Peter, at your Substack?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so there you are.
An institutional product for a retail price.
Yeah, so there you go. I think you're going to need to know what Peter's thinking this year. I know I'll be paying attention to it, and I hope you have your best year ever, Peter.
Thank you, Dale, and my wishes to you as well.
All right, Peter Bookvar, everyone. Follow him on X at pbookvar, and follow him you're going to get great fundamental stuff, and Peter has actionable ideas. It's not just on this hand it could do this, and on that hand it could do that. So he chooses a hand. All right.
You know, when you're managing other people's money, you have no choice but to choose a hand.
That's right. You have to, you can't be strongly neutral all the time.
No,
And right, you have to pick a side. So
you
that's
gotta take some risk if you want to make some money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what do we have to lose? You can't take it with you anyway. So anyway, just measure the risk before you click the mouse. And great talking with you, Peter.
Same here, Dale. I appreciate having me on.
All right, Peter Bookvar, everyone, and you could join the team in about, I don't know, 20 minutes for the morning edge. And let's have a great week, everybody. I hope you're learning along the way. And if you're not part of a community, just do it. So adios, everyone. All right, Brent, all you guys are thanking Peter. All right, see you guys tomorrow.